Well, to shed more light on this and on the tourism sector in Egypt, we had the pleasure to have this phone with Dr. Rami Samir, tourism expert. Good afternoon, Dr. Samir.
How are you?
How are you, Doctor? Dr. Samir, now the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is giving very good care to the tourism sector, and especially giving support to the workers working in the tourism sector in face of the whole world is suffering for 2 years from the pandemic. How do you see the measures taken by the President to support workers in the tourism sector?
It's an important message for sure for the time being. It's very important to encourage the people and to to give them the encouragement in order to continue with this great work. It's going to be really very special, not only for Egypt but for the whole world. It's a very important project for the civilization of the world, for the international cultural efforts that are done in this field. And it's a huge, gigantic project that is really second to none.
Yes, so how do you see President's efforts in order or interest in the tourism sector during this time?
Normally it's supposed to be very important, and it's supposed to be very encouraging, and this is what it's supposed to be. But because of the actual current situation of Corona, we hope it's going to work well. And it was a wise decision to postpone the opening of the museum till the end of the pandemic, and this is what's happening now. So many times and inauguration dates had been set previously, but they were so many times postponed, and it's very understood it should be open when the whole world is capable of absorbing this huge cultural incident in the world. And I expect it's not officially declared for sure till now, but what is officially declared this will be in the second half of 2022. I'm expecting to be open in the 4th of November of this year, which is the occasion of the inauguration of the opening of the discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun. It will be 100 years, and this is my expectation. It's not officially declared, but it's understood from the surrounding situations that it's going to be such a decision. If not, I recommend it if it's chosen, because it's really very significant for the whole world, for the tourism and for the cultural tourism over the whole world, and especially for Egypt, because it's very important incident. The opening of the discovery of the huge tomb of Tutankhamun.
Yes.
Huge value, not in size, but one of the most smallest tomb in the Valley of the Kings, in fact. But it has a very important value, and it's very important and very big in the eyes of the world because of its value.
Yes, so that's true. The President directed to finish and to finalize the Grand Egyptian Museum to cope with the latest standards and the more developed standards in the whole world in order to reflect the greatness of the Egyptian civilization. What are the other details concerning the Grand Egyptian Museum?
In fact, it's not just a museum, it's more than a museum. It's a huge cultural project, as you said previously. It's a museum, so many museums inside each other. For instance, there is a child museum inside, restoration center. There is so many boards and restoration projects, and a bibliothèque, a huge library, and really it's a huge cultural project. Even the shops that are going to be around the area, the parking places and gardens around the area, it's going to be a very huge project. So you can stay 1 week in this museum, and it's near to the King's Airport nowadays, and it's near also the pyramids. So it's a panoramic view from the museum itself. You can really spend a lot of time there, and you can come especially for this museum if you are interested in monuments and history. And there are a lot of people in so many countries in the world that have this feeling, and they have what we call it Egyptomania. which means that they are really fond of Egypt to an extent that is not imaginable.
Yes.
In fact, Egypt deserves that, and the project is huge, and it's going to be a real revolution in the field of the culture field and in the museum work in the whole world. For sure, this is going to be a huge, gigantic project in the whole world, and especially it will be a special privilege for Egypt as well.
Yes, so Dr. Samir, what would add, how would the Grand Egyptian Museum add to Egypt when it is inaugurated? What would it add to Egypt in the field of tourism in the world? It would change the map of the tourism in Egypt and in the world. What's your comment?
In normal situations, it's a jump. It's a real hop. It's a real unbelievable change. But this is a normal situation. We are not in normal situations because of the COVID, because of the coronavirus, because of the war that is currently occurring now between Russia and Ukraine. And in fact, it's supposed to be very affecting in the normal situations, and we hope it's going to be affecting even in the current situations. But we have to be also a little bit reasonable, because in such situations, with the war, with the COVID, we are not expecting a huge, gigantic change, but for sure it will change a lot, and in normal situations it's going to be a real, gigantic change, but I cannot guarantee that because of the current situation.
Yes, also Dr. Samir, the area surrounding the Grand Egyptian Museum is witnessing renovations and preparations in order to make this area or to transform it in one of the most important global destinations. What's your comment?
Yes, it is really an important destination. Egypt, Cairo is going to be a very important destination. I think that after the construction, it's already constructed, after the renovation of this museum, I'm expecting Egypt, or Cairo, let's say in particular, I'm expecting Cairo to be like Luxor. For sure, Luxor is uncomparable because of the quantity of monuments it has, but now we have 100,000 pieces in the Grand Egyptian Museum, besides other pieces in the stores, and so it's going to be really a center of culture, and it's going to compete with compete Luxor as well, and compete huge cultural centers in Egypt, like Armenia, like other sites. But Luxor and Egypt and Cairo containing the Egyptian Museum are going to be the main important two centers for cultural tourism in Egypt, I think. And it's very great change, and it's very great project, and I hope it's going to be open in a smooth way, because of nations carrying the world nowadays. I'm going to be, I'm hoping it's going to be opening a wonderful soft opening, and I'm sure in normal situations it will change the world.
Yes, Dr. Samir, this Grand Egyptian Museum, we all know that it's going to encompass very precious pieces. Could you give us an idea concerning the pieces that is going to be displayed in this Grand Egyptian Museum, especially the belongings or the pieces of King Tutankhamun?
Yes, as you said, especially Tutankhamun. We have more than 5,000 pieces from the collection of Tutankhamun. Even some pieces that are never ever displayed before are going to be displayed, are going to be shown in this museum, and it's going to be really second to none, because the whole world will be astonished. It will be fascinating for the whole world, the new pieces that are going to be shown in this museum that are never seen before. And even in the international expositions in the whole world, some pieces are very unique and masterpieces that are going to be opened for the first time, like new discovery in such case. And at the same time, for sure, the normal traditional pieces that we have in the Egyptian Museum, most of the Egyptian Museum now is transported to the new Grand Egyptian Museum, and it's going to be The 3 floors of these museums are going to be unbelievable, and as we said before, you can stay 1 week at least. Let's say for normal tourists, you can stay 1 week, but if you are specialized in Egyptian antiquities and archaeology, and you can spend a whole year studying and contemplating in these wonderful treasures that are really second to none and that are really fascinating the whole world, and the whole world is coming to Egypt because of them, and will be coming in Egypt because of the Egyptian Grand Museum in particular, as far as I think.
Yes, I thank you very much for your valuable information. Dr. Rami Samir, tourism expert, thank you very much for joining us over the phone. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a short break and I'm going to be back with you.
Discovery came while the mission was carrying out archaeological excavations at the Great Temple of Heliopolis in Al-Matariya area.
Well, to shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have this phone with Dr. Rami Samir, archaeological and tourism expert. Good afternoon, Dr. Samir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
How are you, sir? Well, Dr. Samir, could you give us an idea about the latest discovery in Al-Matariya for pieces of basalt, which is part of King Nectanebo the First?
As normal, this is something very normal. In fact, it's what we call it always that we are swimming on a lake of monuments. Everywhere in Egypt there are monuments, and it's expected every day to discover new things and new discoveries all over Egypt. And this is a normal process that happens every few years,
yes.
every few days sometimes. And in fact, this is very expected, and the area of Madrid is very famous of its ancient temples. It was the center of the cult of the sun, the solar cult, and we have previously found so many objects there, and by the same expedition, by the way, to 2017, 2018, as far as I remember, and some huge statues have been found there. About 6,500 pieces recently on 2018, as far as I remember, 4,500 pieces have been discovered. And every day we have something new there and here and there. And for sure, Matariya is very well known as a center of the sun cult, as I previously said, and this is normal. What we have found there is really a huge temple. If you look at the ruins, you'll find that they are really huge and they are really inspiring, that
yes.
we expect that to find so many other things there in this area. And it's wise decision to search and to excavate in this area because it's full of treasures, and for sure this will support our tourism later on when the situation comes back to normality, as we all hope.
Yes, so the team is planning to continue searching also in this area. We are expecting more monuments to come out to be discovered from this area.
Yes, we are expecting, in fact, we have different monuments that have been discovered and that we expect us to discover from different eras and from different periods. For instance, we have monuments previously discovered in this area dating back to the era of Merenpetah, Ramses II, Nectanebo as usual, and Besmatek. All those depict the pharaonic period. Also, we have so many other periods we have found so many discoveries that date back to them. For instance, the Greco-Roman period. As far as we say, for instance, Saqqara is a book history, an open book of history for all ages. Also, Matariya has a lot of varieties, and in fact, we are expecting to find from different periods, and we are expecting to find more and more. Nectanebo, by the way, is a very important king as well. He's a builder king. He has built everywhere in Egypt, and we have monuments for him everywhere. In Karnak Temple, for instance, in Matariya for sure, and in so many other places in Egypt, even in Philae Temple, even in different areas of Egypt. He's a builder king, and expected to find for him monuments everywhere.
Yes.
Very normal.
Yes. So, Dr. Samir, why always in Matariya? We have witnessed recently several excavations and discoveries that were unearthed in Matariya district. Could you give us an idea about the history of this place?
Yes, as previously said, this is a very promising area, and it's very wise decision to excavate there, because you will find there are certain areas that when you excavate, you know that you will find. For instance, Luxor is full of monuments, Monterey is full of monuments, and as previously said as well, Monterey is the center of the solar cult, the cult of the sun, and there was a temple for the sun there. A huge temple has been discovered now, leading into the area of King Naktanepo the first, not the second. This means approximately 380, more or less, 380 till 363, 66 before Christ. This means the 4th century before Christ. And Naktanepo has monuments everywhere, and Monterey has monuments everywhere. It's covering all the periods of the history, and in fact, it's very important to be very well aware of the importance of that area and the importance of the monuments that we find here and there in the area of Monterey. Let's not forget the huge statue that was first believed to be dating back to Basmatics, and we discovered for Ramses II, and so many other huge monuments that have been discovered all over Egypt and this area in particular.
Yes, Dr. Samir, this group from Germany, who have unearthed or discovered this, or made this excavation. So, what are the most important German contributions here in Egypt in the field of archaeological discoveries?
For sure, the archaeological discoveries play a very important role in supporting tourism all over the whole world. And the exhibitions are the fuel that supports the tourism all over the whole world, especially for the cultural tourism. And Egypt is very specialized in cultural tourism. And that's why it's very important to find more and to declare what we find, because the whole world is looking at us and they are seeing our monuments and they are adoring these monuments. Some special nations, for instance, European nations in particular, are very, especially France and Germany, are very interested in discoveries. And as you see now, it's the German expedition, Egyptian-German expedition, that has discovered this new discovery, and they are very interested in monuments. Let's not also remember that those two nations in particular are very interested in our monuments. The Egyptian history or the Egyptian language has been discovered by French archaeologists. This was Jean-François Champollion, who was the French young man. And let's not remember, also not to forget as well, that the biggest Egyptian dictionary for the Egyptian language was firstly formed by the this is what's called the Wörterbuch der Ägyptischen Sprache. This was discovered, or this was created by the Germans. So they are very interested in our monuments. And now the Germans discovered for us this new discovery. And for sure, all the European countries are interested in our monuments, and the whole world, even Japan and everywhere now in the world, it's the Egyptomania is very well known all over the whole world.
Yes, so what is the criteria by which Egypt chooses the excavation teams, if Egyptians or foreigners? What are the qualifications needed in this team?
For Egyptians and foreigners, it's very important value, and we hope also that day that in which we find that the Egyptians are very interested in monuments as the foreigners do. In fact, they pay a lot of money in order to come and see our monuments. Sometimes they are living just next to the monuments and we don't see them. In fact, it's very important and historical value for all Egyptians and foreigners, and we are supporting them, and we are supporting these discoveries, and we are supporting searching everywhere in Egypt, because this is income in Egypt, and this is a value as well. It means cultural value besides the economical one.
Yes, yes, of course, tourism is a national income for Egypt. Yes. So, Dr. Rami, is there? What are we going to do with this this discovery in Monterey? Is it going to be transferred to a certain museum? Is there an idea to build a museum in the same place where the discoveries were found?
What could be transported will be transported for sure after dealing with the monuments, after handling them, after restoring them. They will be transported to different museums. For instance, the Egyptian Museum, the Grand Egyptian Museum for sure, and the Egyptian Museum, the actual one. And also for sure for the big monuments, the temple itself will remain its place, but after preserving it, and it will be another destination, new destination added to Egyptian tourism and Egyptian chart and Egyptian map of tourism. Some great temples will be discovered one day more and more, like Karnak Temple, Luxor Temple is very expected to find everything underground, and we are expecting that every day. And I insist on this sentence that we are swimming on a lake of monuments. This is a very important sentence that I've learned from my professor, Dr. Nuruddin, and he was right to say it, and it's really completely correct. We are swimming on a lake of monuments. Wherever you go in Egypt, you'll find monuments, and you find the monument between any monument and the other ones.
Yes,
so this
that's
is
true.
Very normal in Egypt.
Yes, yes. So, Dr. Samir, as we are waiting for the inauguration of the ram-headed Sphinx in Luxor Temple, from Karnak to Luxor Temple, the road of the ram-headed Sphinx, we find this discovery in Motaria, this excavation work by the German team. So, how do you see the importance? Egypt really every day now, recently this year and the past year, every day and every week we hear and we find more discoveries. How do you see this important for attracting tourism in Egypt despite the challenge of the coronavirus? Worldwide,
yes, in fact, you have mentioned the deadly point, which is the coronavirus, but in fact, the government is doing its best, and they are searching everywhere, and so many discoveries have been discovered in the last few decades, few years, not really, in the last few years in particular. So many new discoveries have been discovered, and this means that we are working very hard on that field, and that's very good. And it will for sure it will have an effect on tourism, but hopefully it will not be very badly. It will not. I mean that Corona will not affect us.
Of course,
more
because
than that.
here in Egypt it's under control.
In fact, we are doing our best to challenge this difficult situation in which the whole world is facing now, which is the coronavirus problem. But it will be in normal conditions. This will add a lot to the Egyptian tourism. This will add a lot to the attractions we have in Egypt. This will attract more people for us in normal situations, and we are doing our best because some other factors are force majeure, are out of our hand, like the coronavirus situation, and I find that we are doing more than what we can. We are searching everywhere, and we are discovering really, and this also is added to the efforts that previously declared, and the whole world will speak about that. And as you mentioned as well, the procession that's going to be held in Luxor will be another procession that the whole world will speak about, like the previous one of the mummies. This will all add positively to the Egyptian tourism and the trend of the Egyptian tourism all over the whole world.
Yes, I thank you very much for your valuable information. Dr. Rami Samir, archaeological and tourism expert, thank you very much for joining us over the phone. Well, with this, my dear viewers, we come to the end of this episode of our program, Cairo Local Time. Welcome back. To shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have this phone with Dr. Rami Samir, tourism expert. Good afternoon, Dr. Samir.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Samir, how do you see this initiative by the Minister of Tourism, Dr. Khaled Al-Anani, to meet with the 60 or a number of ambassadors assigned abroad before they travel in order to give more advertisement for tourism in Egypt and boost tourism in Egypt?
Promising step, Noura, to encourage Egyptian tourism and to find alternatives for dealing with the current situation, the situation in which the tourism is going to be completely changed. The whole world has witnessed that, and we are witnessing it as well. So it's a very important step and a very important way to try to find alternatives to deal with the current situation, as previously said, and we are already doing that by adding different sites and by adding, merging both cultural tourism and recreational one together. For instance, the new museums that have been constructed in Sharm el-Sheikh or in Hurghada, which merges cultural tourism and recreational tourism both together. This is a very good idea, and this is a very good step on the way of improving our tourism. And also the new museums that have been constructed in Sharm el-Sheikh and Kafr Sheikh as well, and new discoveries, all on the way to the same direction. On the same direction, we are heading to find another alternative for dealing with the current situation in which we are going to attract the tourists to Egypt in different ways. And at the same time, we are going to promote our tourism in a way that is compatible with the coronavirus situation and the new tourism in the world situation.
Yes, Doctor, what is the expected role of by the newly assigned ambassadors in order in their mission to support tourism in Egypt? What do we expect?
Officially, they are the ones responsible for promoting our tourism. Officially, they are the official side of Egypt all over the whole world outside, and that's why we should depend upon them. And we are already depending upon them and depending upon the different other aspects. For instance, we are promoting our tourism through media, through internet, and our minister speaks in English and in French to the whole world, and it's working very well, and we are going to have it more and more. And it's very important to concentrate more and more because the situation in which we are now is very complicated and very difficult for the Egyptian tourism, or for tourism all over the whole world, for the aviation all over the whole world, because as you have known and as you have witnessed already, aviation situation in the whole world is very complicated and very affected by the current situation. But now we are heading to the individual tourism instead of the mass tourism, in which the tour guide was receiving 50 persons in one time in one bus. It's going to be completely different nowadays, and now we are heading to do that and to deal with the current situation in this matter and this new perspective.
So, Dr. Samir, do we expect from Egyptian ambassadors newly assigned abroad that they could, for example, in their program for boosting for tourism in Egypt or advertising for tourism in Egypt, that there could be some sort of 1 week for the Egyptian civilization abroad, or like what we heard about, for example, the ambassadors or the delegation in Canada, they made a month for the Egyptian civilization, and it's held twice on annual basis. It was held last year and this year. Do we expect an example of this?
This is the role, and this is what we expect from them, and they are doing it, and they are working in it, and they are constructing it, as I said, different occasions and different new pieces for the tourism in order to be capable of accepting all what's coming new. And in fact, cultural events are held everywhere in the whole world, and we should concentrate on that, and we should concentrate on traditional and untraditional ways of dealing with tourism and of promoting it. And as I said, this is their role, and they are doing it, and we are expecting much more and more from them. I think that they are going to depend much more in the coming period upon the events of different cultural institutions and cultural centers, in Egyptian cultural centers in different countries. And I've been informed of some of their activities in Canada and in different areas recently, and I think that they'll be increasing it more and more in the coming time, in the coming short period, for the benefit of Egypt and the Egyptian tourism all over the whole world.
Yes, Dr. Samir, also concerning boosting tourism in Egypt, years ago, Egypt has witnessed exhibiting some pieces of the monuments and exhibitions and showrooms in several countries, like in England, in Paris, in the United States. How do you see the importance of this?
Very important, no doubt. And what has happened, as previously mentioned in other programs, when you called me, I told you that this was a very good and important step to show the whole world how Egypt is dealing now, and how the trend of Egypt now is very well praised trend. Now Egypt is boasting and proud. Egypt is proud of their civilization, of the ancient civilization, and now we are promoting this parade that has happened for the mummies, Egyptian mummies, all over the whole world, and it has played a big role. And now we are seeing the results. Tourism has started to commence, let's say commence, and start very slowly but gradually. And now we have individuals coming to Egypt, we have some groups coming, and it's not to be compared at all before Corona, for sure, to the situation before Corona, but going on the way, and we are expecting to have it more and more in the next few months and few weeks, let's say. And we are hoping that it's going to be much better, and for sure all that is because of the different efforts that are done everywhere in the whole world in order to attract tourist Egypt and promote for the Egyptian tourism all over the whole world.
Yes, I thank you very much for your valuable information and for your time, Dr. Rami Samir, tourism expert. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone. Well, with this, my dear viewers, we come to the end of this episode of our program, Cairo Local Time. I'm Amal Mukhtar. Thank you for watching. Well, to shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have this phone with Dr. Rami Samir, the tourism expert. Good afternoon, Dr. Samir. Hello?
Hello, most welcome.
Hello?
Hello, I'm most welcome.
Excuse me, Dr. Hani,
Yes.
Dr. Rami Samir, tourism expert. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. So, Dr. Samir, what is the importance of that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi heads the presidency of the Board of Trustees of the Grand Egyptian Museum, and what are the tasks of this board?
For sure, it's very important, and it's very important what's happening nowadays. So many procedures are taken, and these are very important to assure and to maintain the Egyptian tourism that's in need of a lot of all over the world because of the coronavirus problem and the current situations that are known everywhere. It's very important what's done in Egypt these days. For instance, the procession of the royal mummies many weeks ago. This has led a big shadow upon the Egyptian monuments and the Egyptian heritage and the Egyptian civilization of the whole world. For sure, the whole world knows that. But it's very important as well to understand that we need to assure that these days, in order not to be forgotten, the Egyptian tourism, the Egyptian civilization. And it's very important as well at the same time to maintain all that and all these efforts. So this is one new effort in that step, in that trend. Maintaining the Egyptian tourism and addressing the whole world with Egyptian achievements and Egyptian trials to attract tourists all over the whole world. It's very important to understand all that and to work this way. And I appreciate all the efforts. Dr. Anani, President Sisi, all those responsibles are doing their best in very difficult situation. The whole world is suffering now. The whole tourism all over the whole world, the aviation all over the whole world. But still, we are not despairing. We're continuing. We are doing all our efforts, and we are trying to do more and more. And it's very important to understand that what we are doing is not in vain. In spite of the current situation, in spite of the appearing problems all over the whole world, but we have to understand at the same time that we are trying to do our best, and we have to do that because all this is an accumulation of information in the hands, in the heads, and the mentality of the whole world. We are forming a new aspect. We are forming a new image to Egypt after the procession of the royal mummies in particular. Egypt is now so important all over the whole world, and they are now remembering the royal mummies, and they will remember the Grand Egyptian Museum when it's open. This is very important, and I appreciate all the efforts that are done in that way, in that trend nowadays.
Yes, Mr. Samir, so the Board of Trustees consists of Egyptians and foreigners also. What are the criteria by which they choose the members of the board?
For sure, the president is very wise. He's choosing the elements that are very useful to the Egyptian work, that field. And it's important to know that the people chosen are very well known all over the whole world, and it's very important to trust them and to give them the opportunity, but not to judge them rapidly, because we said before that we have to understand the situation in which we are now. The results are not going to be immediate. For sure, we have to wait, but the fruits are coming, and once the coronavirus disappears all over the whole world, if that happens, it will start very rapidly the Egyptian tourism. All our problem now is the coronavirus and fears all over the whole world, but once this is done, we are going to go ahead in our trend and our way. We are going to continue in our trials, and we are going to be compensated once it's available. The tourism is available again in the world.
Yes, Mr. Samir. To what stage have the establishment of the museum reached till now? Are we going to witness the opening ceremony soon in 2021?
I cannot decide that. I'm not the president to decide that. The president is going to set the date.
Yes,
the president is going to set the exact date, and according to his vision and according to the worldwide vision, I think that it will be a very wise decision, because I think that we are waiting a little bit till we see the current situation in the world, but the time will be very precise and very appropriate as far as I trust. And we are waiting, but nobody can interfere in such fields.
Yes, of course. Yes, I know this.
A super decision that can be chosen by the Minister of Tourism, Minister of Antiquities, and the President himself, no one else.
Yes, I thank you very much for your time, for your valuable information. Thank you very much, Mr. Rami Samir, the tourism expert. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone in 9TV International. This is a short break, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to be back with you.